When I was young, my two older sisters had a horse named Woodchuck. Woodchuck was a racing horse, jumper, who had been put out to pasture and given to our family because it couldn't be raced anymore. And it couldn't be raced because it was a little bit lame or just had a weak enough leg that it shouldn't be allowed to jump anymore or even gallop. But that was fine for my two sisters. They didn't need to gallop around or jump. They wanted to have a horse for basic trail riding. And so I heard stories from my sisters about how sometimes when they were riding Woodchuck, he would see something up ahead that he wanted to jump. And it was just in his blood and in his training and memory to want to jump over things. So once in a while, they would lose control of him, and he would just take his head and go into a full gallop and jump over whatever it was that he saw in his field of vision. And I said, well, couldn't you control him? Couldn't you, pull a little harder and keep him from jumping over that? And they said, no. Once he'd made up his mind, you just had to go with it, because if you try to pull him back when he's about to jump over some tall fence or something, you're gonna take your life into your hands because you want to clear the fence. They may not have said exactly these words or this, but my understanding from my fallible memory is that they basically, once they knew they lost control of him and the fence was approaching, they just had to go with it. And so meditation, while doing something or even just sitting meditation, is a little bit like riding Woodchuck. The mind has made some decision, intention to meditate, and so there's a part of ourselves that has made that beautiful intention to explore ourselves and how the mind works. And yet there's a part of the mind that is still racing ahead with thoughts and seeing interesting things to think about up ahead, so to speak. And the practice of awareness is to be the rider. I've heard this metaphor used by some teacher before, and I'm sorry I can't quote who it was, but the rider is the awareness. Or we could say that the awareness is the gateway or the aspect of our regular human minds that has access to the rider. And so there's a part of our experience, of our awareness of our senses, and even a part of our ability to experience the world that isn't so dependent on the physical senses. But anyway, be the rider, and we have a choice. We can try to fight that other part of our mind, which is a battle we're never going to win, just like with Woodchuck. Why fight the mind? Why deny what the mind is? It's a racehorse. Some part of us has decided to put it out to pasture, but maybe the woodchuck in us isn't ready to go out to pasture. It still needs to race around, once in a while even jump. So just be the rider and witness what's happening. Be aware of your mind. Be aware that you are aware of your mind. And so I guess just going back to the metaphor, it's a little bit like, if the horse starts to take off, you could actually imagine my sisters suddenly just becoming one with Woodchuck and just totally merging with the idea of running forward, jumping over the fence, and so on, and participating almost like they were a jockey in a race. But they could also just lean down and, not literally, but imagine that you could just hug Woodchuck and affirm the crazy while not really being the crazy, if that makes any sense. And so just witness Woodchuck and realize that even as you're racing around with those thoughts, you still have a part of yourself, that witness, that awareness of, that is more fundamental than fleeting thoughts.